Hello and welcome to our podcast. I'm Dani, and today Crate.com talks with Finora Manyala, the Kenya Country Director of Solar Sister. If you haven't heard of it yet, its mission is to economic empower women to eradicate energy poverty through entrepreneurship. Before we begin, remember if you're new here to this podcast, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Hi, Finora, and welcome.
Hi, Danny. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you here today. And we are really curious about what you guys have been doing and about this model that you have found and are working on. It's really an interesting thing and a different perspective that's bringing together two things that we feel like it's quite important. That is empowering women, giving them solutions to fight for better lives for themselves, and thinking about a sustainability perspective, right? Of thinking different ways to generate energy. So this is going to be an interesting interview.
Yeah.
We usually begin here, Fenora, with history because it's important to know how things began, when things began. So let's go for that first. What motivated the founding of Solar Sister, and how did the idea of empowering women through clean energy came about?
Okay, thank you once again, Danny, and happy to be here. So maybe before I dive into your question, I would want to sort of like just introduce Solar Sister and talk a little bit more of who we are, what we do, so that can cause an introduction of the organization. So Solar Sister is a social enterprise that provides women with economic opportunity, training, technology, and support to be able to distribute a range of clean energy products in Africa. So we would often recruit ambitious, hardworking women and then give them customized monthly trainings, programs. Then we would also be able to ensure that these are equipping them with the essential skills needed to generate income both for themselves and their families. So Solar Sister really provides a years long of training. So when I say this, I mean like we really ensure that the women we bring on board are able to, learn skills that will help them kickstart and grow their clean energy businesses. And the ongoing training and mentorship that we provide really equips the women with business skills like networking, things to do with record keeping. And then they also are able to gain other soft skills like, leadership, goal setting. And then, just by getting all this, we've learned that our women are able to really build confidence and serve the communities that they are in as role models and change agents. So back to history, Solar Sister has existed since 2010. And, this has been with operations in 3 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And these are Nigeria, Tanzania, and then now here in Kenya, where I am based. So last year, we really celebrated a very huge milestone. That is towards the end of last year of hitting 10,000 women entrepreneurs. And in turn, these women entrepreneurs have been able to distribute over 5 million products to beneficiaries. And then, they've been able to, these products have in turn been able to mitigate over 1.7 million tons of CO2. So the origins of Solar Sister itself are drawn back or traced back in 2008. And this is when our CEO, Catherine Lucy, who is a former investment banker, went for a mission in Uganda. And, she was doing a charity, mission in Uganda with an organization there. And she met one of the rural farmers in, a rural area in Uganda, and her name was Rebecca. So Rebecca really was able to benefit, by getting a solar home system from the charity organization that Catherine went to Uganda with. And she was able to demonstrate, how she, this one solar lamp really could change, the energy from this solar lamp could change, her everyday's life. And how she did this is by just enhancing she was having a chicken farm. So what she did is just to enhance, the lighting in the chicken farm with this one solar lamp. And by doing this, Rebecca was able to really grow her business because, we know that chicken only feed when they can see. So by having this lighting in her chicken room, she was able to, get her chicken feed more, and produce more eggs and grow even more bigger. And so she was known in the community to have really the biggest chicken and to have, a lot of, eggs that she produced from the chicken. And so she built a very profitable farm by selling this chicken to the community. And she was able to elevate her family's living conditions. And she also was able to, establish a school in the community through this business that she was running. And so this is when, a thought came through Catherine, like if one woman can be able to make such a big impact, with one solar panel, then what can a whole network of women entrepreneurs do? And this is how Solar Sister was formed. Thank you, Danielle.
Wow, thank you, actually, because it really gave us a broader understanding of how things work. I was very much curious to understand, as I said, this model of yours, and I want to talk about it a little bit further. But it's really all about the ripple effect, right? Not just the one action of generating a clean energy, but about everything else that kind of orbitates around it. The skills that you need to develop a business of yours, right? To keep things on track. And everything else that can be powered through this clean energy. So if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, please. The model really is
No,
like
no, you're
woman
right.
plus clean energy equals impact, right? And give us actually, can you show us a bit more about how it works in other underserved communities right now? Because you were talking about how it all began. What is going on now?
Okay, so first of all, it's important to note that the model that Solar Sister brands or works with is built or centered on a nexus of three very important things. And these are, women empowerment, energy poverty, and climate justice, just like you mentioned it. So we are really working with these women to be able to bring the change that is needed in the community. And so as primary household energy managers, we know that women are, they have really powerful network for sure, because they are in these groups, they go to church, and they have, all these people surrounding them that they can make or take advantage of in terms of, ensuring that the distribution of products is done. So we recognize that these women are very, very uniquely positioned to be able to bring clean energy to millions of last mile communities. And they are very, very critical in, being able to ensure communities are adapting the clean energy solutions. So apart from them really being great salespeople, because they are great salespeople, based on, again, the networks that I just mentioned, they also experience the effects of, clean energy, like climate change firsthand, because, they see the changes in the rain patterns, for example. They would, experience issues to do with flooding, and that's all because of, the effects that we have due to climate change. And, when, say, for example, there is flooding that happened and people had to move out, maybe a family, and now they are coming back in. It's this woman who will need to come in to do the cleaning, to put things back in place, to ensure that the house is now, in a manner that the, family can come back and pick up where they left from. And so by doing all this, we see that women really understand the importance of, climate change in their lives, because they really experience it firsthand. So they know what it means to cook in the dark. They know what it means to, cook in open fires, spend hours even looking for firewood, And so when it comes to the issue of women going through all this, then they have to really take this with the seriousness that it deserves, because they know that they are the ones who are suffering at the end of the day. So they really get to be committed with this cause, because they, apart from them getting social benefits from it, they also are able to get some economic opportunity out of this, or a way that really fits their life, because they make some money out of it. They are able to come back and take their children to school, buy some food and put it on the table. So economically they benefit, but at the same time they are able to look at it as part of how they improve their community in terms of social benefits. So at Solar Sister, we really like to view these women as agents of change. And this is why they are very, very critical to our model and the work that we do, because they are really the agents of change and progress. And we don't want to really look at them as only victims or beneficiaries of what's happening. So they are really agency, and as household energy managers should not be underestimated in any case, because they really are the ones who suffer the biggest bit of what happens there.
Finora, I want to use something that you just said as a bridge to another question here, because you mentioned this importance of making sure that communities adapt to the changes, right? So how does Solar Sister ensure that the clean energy solutions provided are sustainable and culturally appropriate for the communities you serve?
Okay, so Danielle, I would say the renewable energy technology that we provide, first of all, to our entrepreneurs, we make sure that we verify these technologies. And this is through, some of the organizations that we work with. And we have one of them called Verasol Solutions. And for them, they really are able to check on the quality, durability standards of the product, so that when we get these products to the community, we have checked that they are actually products that would work, they are products that would serve them, they are products that, will easily be adaptable and all that. And then also our model itself, the model that we have, the entrepreneurship model in itself has been proven to be very, very sustainable, because I told you earlier, we've been in existence since 2010. And so this integrates really local participation. And by saying this means that, we go to the communities and we have to ensure that we are working with the local stakeholders and making sure that we engage them. And so this creates a lot of ownership in the community, because, when you involve the community from the word go, then they feel like whatever solution you're bringing to them, it's actually for them, it's for them and it's going to support them. And so we get a lot of support from the community, because we really like to make sure that we engage them from the word go, and then now, just make sure that we are able to make them on the project, on the work that is done. So additionally, we also employ a lot of, support system to our to the women entrepreneurs that we work with. And this one imitates, the local women cluster groups. I don't know if you've heard of those, which, at Solar Sister level would call that Solar sisterhood groups. And so how this work is, there would be meetings once a month for each of those sisterhood groups, and we would have our local staff member at the community level who would really support these women. So they would go and, be in each of these meetings and, just ensure that they are supporting these women. And these groups, we've seen that they really bring up a lot of, peer-to-peer support within the entrepreneurs. And then there's also training that they would receive, which is delivered by our local staff members. And then this is also done in the local language, so that the women can be able to really understand. So there is, a lot of, meeting women where they are, because even the training itself, we want to customize it and make sure that the women really get to understand whatever is being trained. And then we would also use these same meetings to be able to deliver products. So like this, then you see it is work that is done within the community, in the community, with the stakeholders in there. And so it is very easy for them to adapt and, get to move with the products.
Now, Fnora, one thing that it's interesting or important for us to tackle here is as well the challenges, right, that these women entrepreneurs are facing. So, what happens, what goes on, what those challenges are, and how does solar system help them overcome these challenges?
Yeah, so we have a couple of challenges that our women entrepreneurs do face, but maybe I can just mention a few. So we have things like, cultural barriers that prevent women from engaging in income generating activities. There's access to startup capital, things to do with, lack of digital connectivity, especially since we work with women in the really last mile rural communities. And so part of what Solar Sister does, we continue to really engage in, multi-level stakeholder engagements in the communities that we work with. So really to be able to sensitize the heads of the households and communities, about the climate change and the effects of climate change, how women entrepreneurs, can really help change that or can really help, better the situation. And so, this has really brought about a lot of, an increase in community resilience and how they can be involved in partnering with Solar Sister. We've had a lot of, men really coming to support their, partners in this and, just making sure that they help in ensuring that women are thriving and they are doing better every day. So yeah, and some of the challenges, obviously, like lack of startup capital. These are things, that we try to work around in terms of just ensuring that, we tag these women with, other, groups that they could, maybe get in and, just access some financing here and there. And, maybe sometimes even have our own internal seeding programs that we could do to ensure that we support the really vulnerable women who are not able to afford, startup capital, but they are out there, they are aggressive, and they want to be able to benefit from this venture. Thank you.
This is really great because it's a full side support, right? It's like we are going to help you tackle this from every front that you might find obstacles. So it's really, really interesting to see. I want to go back, Nora, to the ripple effect that you were talking, that we have briefly discussed before, because I feel like this is really one of the strengths of the program that you have. So could you discuss it a little bit further about this ripple effects of empowering women entrepreneurs through clean energy on families and communities?
Yeah, sure. So there is a common saying that I like maybe saying or talking about, and this is when you empower a woman, you really empower the whole community. And this is true because the positive outcomes from the Solar Sisters model do not really stop at an entrepreneur. They go beyond that, and the impacts are seen on their families, their children, and the community at large. So even just to draw back on the survey we did at the end of last year, a lot of women, 84% from that survey, really, it was an internal survey, reported, to have better, to be living a better life compared to what it was 12 months ago. And 50% really reported to having, a total control over, their economic decisions in the household. And, the things to do with, SSCs also reported that, they spend a lot of the money that they earn, and SSCI, Solar System Entrepreneurs, they reported that, a lot of money that they earned, or most of the money that they earned from working with Solar Sister, went towards paying school fees for their children, buying food, healthcare, agriculture, and the list really grew. So this shows you that actually whatever the entrepreneurs make from the opportunity really goes back to actually supporting, their family, and it really just brings that whole change in the whole chain. So they also spoke about really the income they get from, the opportunity being a catalyst to their children getting to school, and then also the solar lamp itself really being a huge facilitator of increasing their children's study hours at night. So look at all that. It's a whole big difference. And so we know by really training these women, by empowering these women to become entrepreneurs, women really sell these energy products in the community. They are empowered to influence the community behavior, community norms towards women leaders shift from what people thought about it before to now, seeing them as, change agents and, people who are really making the big difference in the community. So the impact of the model itself is tangible, and we can see that, and very, very transformative. And it really translates to increased income, more time for productive work, when women could spend time, really fetching for firewood and, just doing, they can use that time to make sure that they are doing other important things in their lives. And then this is also leading to reduced energy costs of women and their communities. So that's how I can really describe the ripple effect of the model of Solar Sister on the communities. Thank you.
And I think this is really, really impactful, and it's perfect when you put it, it's tangible, right? It's absolutely tangible. Fenora, we looked to the past, we looked to the present. Now it's time to look to the future, right? So looking ahead, what are Solar Sisters' goals? And do you plan to scale this impact that we're talking about across more regions?
So right now, I wouldn't say really like scaling into more regions, because the organization recently took a massive leap forward by expanding into its operations into Kenya through a merger with another social enterprise called Livelihoods Kenya. So this happened in 2022. And so this expansion really accelerates Solar Sister strategic objectives, which was at least to expand into, one new country and build more impact and strengthen, its model on women entrepreneurs and selling, of course, solar lights and the clean cookstoves in the communities. And so the merger really brought these two organizations together. And, it is great that the mission, vision, values of these two organizations really align very well, giving it a solid foundation of their combined efforts. And so right now, I think it's more to do with building, like Solar Sisters work more into Kenya. And so getting really deep into the rural areas and, just being able to expand the the women entrepreneurship model into those areas. So I wouldn't really say, we are thinking about expansion right now, but really getting even more stronger in the countries that we are in, especially with the current changes around the merger that happened in 2022. Yeah.
And my final question for you today, Fenora, a really, really important one, because, well, we covered, as usual, we covered some ground here, and people can get much more information on your page, which is solarsister.org. But here is an important aspect, that is, how can listeners and viewers help you guys keep going?
Okay, I would say maybe just keep spreading the good word about Solar Sister and the work that we do. As well as also if, there is any support, that can come our way, would appreciate that, like, could it be, just anything that someone feels like, that would go towards supporting the work that Solar Sister does in the community, we would really appreciate. But really, the biggest of all is just to keep, spreading the word, keep, talking about the work that we do and the impacts and all that. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. This was a great conversation. I really appreciated it.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you, Danielle.
Yeah. And for everyone else listening or watching us right now, thank you so much for staying in for this more episode. And remember, if you liked it, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Share it with your friends, with your family, in all your social media, and help us spread the word about the importance of Solar Sister. Bye, and I'll see you in the next episode.